Questions? You had.
I don't know. It seems like a far away experience, but I still give a shot.
Yes.
I was going back to that experience. It seemed like an experience, and it seemed like everything seemed clear. Like God's light seemed clear, and I didn't need eyes to, like you say, don't need the human eyes to see, and it seemed to be like engulfing the whole room, and it felt like it's like none of this matters. Like not matters. I don't have to worship. None of this is outside of it, and it was very clear. So then the question then it doubt arises that before that was I then not seeing it fully, or was, because now it's again clear, like but it's not that same experience. And then right after.
So Jyotika was just sharing that she had an experience when the other day, where God's light was palpable. God's light is palpable, and it seemed so clear and apparent. But then a doubt came saying, but does this mean that all these years I was not having this, not seeing the truth? And then she says, when I look in now, but it's a bit different.
Yeah, like it's
a bit different.
Like when I'm not going with any thought, it's clear that it's boundless, and it's clear that the presence is clear. But then it doesn't seem.
Now, so what is the confusion? There is a mixing of your intuitive eyes and a kind of phenomenal sight. What you're seeing intuitively, what you're recognizing intuitively as God's presence, as your being, in a way we're trying to find the physical evidence of that, the phenomenal evidence of that, to confirm that we are not going off track. You see, that we are not deluding ourselves, that we are not fooling ourselves. Is this the real presence of God? And if then one day I saw the presence, it was so apparent, this is the presence, then what have I been doing all this time? And then was that not the presence? So anything that you can perceive and form a shape or quality to, is the byproduct. And this byproduct, like every day you visit to the mandir, the byproduct can keep changing, the prasad can keep changing, but the source itself is always the same. So how to get confirmation of this? This is not confirmable conceptually. You cannot say, you cannot Sherlock Holmes your way to it. No, you can't say, this, like that. And therefore, this is the real God that I found the other day. That's not that. It's just like the flavors, the colors, the fragrance may vary, but the heart of it is the same. Because at the heart of it is you. So, I am in itself is like water. And it's like the awareness of I am is like the space in which the water comes, or the water molecules which are in the air. You see? But the I am itself is like the water. Now, sometimes you have water plain, sometimes it is sweet, sometimes it is salty. But that cannot lead you to question the I am itself, because how is the I am validated? Is this water or no? Where is the water? How can you check the taste of water? What is the true means to check the taste of water? Yes, it's not a taste, it's a neutrality. The taste of neutrality in a way confirms the waterness of it. You see, the absence of a taste, the absence of the byproduct seems to confirm the exactness of it. So, in the same way, as you're meeting yourself with simple questions like, can I stop being? With can I stop being? Now, if the answer to that is an experience that comes and goes, that know that that is the prasad. It is not the being itself. You see, if it came, you see, in response to the question, can I stop being? You see, then it is the byproduct. If it is recognized in the form, it is recognized. You see, in the sense that it is always here. How was I missing this? You see, it's like suddenly you look at one side of the room and you say, yeah, but that's always been there, no? The photo of Krishna has been there. It's not that you say, you came. See? The you came is the byproduct and the prasad which you can enjoy. The spiritual experiences are there for you to enjoy. But don't mistake that which comes and goes with that which is your reality. Otherwise the mind will throw you into these loops. Then it will say, but then how can I confirm that the other day was also the real experience? Because I may have another experience tomorrow which can seem even more pristine than that. So, what is the trick then? The trick then is to be headless. Even if in headlessness you are being deluded. It's not your problem. This is important. So, in headlessness, if you are being deluded, then that is God's problem. God has to deal with it. You see, you have done your bit. After that, you don't have to dig further. You see, now you cannot say, in my heart, it said move to Timbuktu, no, or something, and then it's like, is this really the truth, or am I being deluded? Were you in your head? You know the answer to that. You see, and if you don't know the answer to that, then dive in again. Nothing stops you. God is not going to say, okay, you had one ticket. You see, your intuition is not going to say you had one ticket to ask this question, done now, next. You see? So don't beat yourself up about that and say, oh, I don't have enough faith. If it is not clear whether it came from head or heart, you see, if it is not clear, then check again. You don't have to worry. Just check again. So there is no confusion then, because the truth is always available. The truth is always available. So this point is very important. Once you have turned to God, once you have turned to your heart, then the job of checking and validating is not yours. You see? And this is the simplest and the toughest thing you can ever do. To have that full trust is the simplest, because the turning is actually very simple, it's effortless. You see? But then to allow the guidance of this heart or the silence of this heart to override your present will or your idea of your current will, it can seem like the biggest challenge. See? You go to God for an answer, suppose all you get is silence. Your will is to find an answer. God's will is silent. Even that simple thing needs trust, because most likely we are going to throw a tantrum. So So that is where we move away from the lip service spirituality or the armchair spirituality into the true spirituality. Upon turning into the heart, how much can we trust what we receive? So this is so beautiful because the way of insight and the way of faith both are working together to guide you. The way of insight is showing you that unperceivable reality of your being, and that which is aware even of being. And the way of faith is allowing you to trust the guidance from there without the selfishness of the head. So why I'm putting this combination together today is because many times I've noticed that what can happen is that we can have this idea that I came to a true insight about what I was. So you can have a glimpse of that. And then after that, selfishness can take over. You see? And we can say, but this has to be now, you see, valid because I had a true insight. And this is a misunderstanding in a lot of spirituality where enlightenment is meant to be like a cliff that you jumped over. Now you jumped over it, you cannot be deluded. You see? But this is not true. It's a living enlightenment. It's a living freedom. And without faith, it will be very dry and hollow. So you need to have, like Bhagavan said, both the wings, inquiry and devotion. Jnana and bhakti. Both are the wings of the bird. You don't want to flap around just with one. Both are available to you. You can use both. So the beauty of this combination of insight and faith together is that really you cannot be fooled. Really you cannot be fooled. Because I am saying that you are being intuitive when who you are is apparent to you. Okay? Who you are is apparent to you. Then what you receive in your heart is intuitive. And what you receive may initially seem very absurd compared to your ideas of your life or what you want and what you should do, or it may seem too simple. Sometimes we're expecting to get guidance, which is like, go move this mountain from here to there, and what the guidance you get is like, go have your breakfast. This can't be God's voice. But you have to trust it, moment to moment, moment to moment. So this is the master job, like, just to point you to this. Just to point you to this. Because you need a intermediary. You need an intermediary in the beginning. You start to realize you can't touch the head. Then you can't go to anyone who is also trusting the head. So you need an intermediary who shows up in front of you. You see, who can then form the bridge between the head to heart. So only those who are living in the heart, or living in the way of the heart, can form that bridge. So this is the cheat code in life. Master is the cheat code in life. Where, like, you meet the representatives of your head everywhere. But once along the way, you'll meet someone who really made the journey himself or herself, and she will tell you, so that is a beautifully rare commodity that is grace, that grace brings up in our life. Because otherwise it seems like unsolvable problem. Something is already starting to hear the call of the heart, of course. And that's why it attracts you to the words of somebody crazy enough to try and be the intermediary. Something's already called you to the heart, but our faith is not yet deep enough to accept the irrationality. We wanted to operate according to our mechanisms of thinking and understanding. So what happens? Some of you come to Satsang the first few times and said, I have no idea what you're saying. But somehow I keep coming. Some fewer maybe have also reported that I came and everything you were saying was so obvious, although I never heard something like this before. And some of you, most of you have the oscillations of frustrations and tantrums and this and that, all of that, because you're finding a newer way to live. Your initial attempt will be to try and include it in your way of life, which you cannot do. But you're really finding a newer way to live, which is absent of the tools of the past, but present of the most fresh tools that you can ever imagine. See, the guidance, the presence, what is flowing out of you will be so extraordinary that you can't. It's like your narrative may switch out completely. I want to do this is my plan, this is my roadmap, this is how I'll achieve things, these are my ambitions, all of that stuff, to now, I'm in God's presence. God's presence. And to face the fears that in God's presence, what a fool you will make out of yourself in front of your friends and family or the world. That can be a fear. So I've been sharing also with some of you that now I also feel like I'm just sharing this stuff on family groups, on WhatsApp and all of that. It's just like, what's the worst case scenario? They'll block me. So otherwise, but it's a worthwhile bet, because if 1 out of 100 somehow maybe one day is drawn to God's presence in their heart, it's worth being blocked and considered crazy by most of the world. It's fine. Beautiful words I read again from Kierkegaard. He said that love is only love if the presence of God is palpable, if it involves a turning towards God. So love is only love if it involves a turning towards God. I felt it was really beautiful. So then when we look at the ones we apparently love, then in how many of those relationships have we involved the turning towards God? So it's funny how these things play out, because then I asked my daughter the other day, I was telling them the other day also that I asked my daughter that day, that because she's like talking to me, we have good communication at least that way, so she talks about music and parties and friends and what happened in school and stuff like that. So I just told her, she was sitting with me, I said, if you ever want to talk about God or just like something like this, and she did not have a crazy reaction. She didn't say, shut up, I'm going, I don't want to talk to you, don't come and Satsang. She's like, yeah, but something she said about Hinduism. So I said, yeah, whatever path you pick whatever attracts you. If you feel you're attracted to Hinduism, I can share with you the reality of what is being shared in our culture and tradition that way. But if you feel like you want to be a Buddhist one day or something, I can share with you from that perspective. If you want to be a Christian, I can share with you the Christian perspective. If you want to look at any of these traditions, I'm happy to do that. And then I really looked at it and said, the only river I have not bathed in deeply, you see, where I feel confident to, not the only, there are millions of rivers like that, but the main rivers that I feel like I haven't really bathed in deeply to be able to say, come this way, you see, and this is the way you'll come to the ocean, is the river of Islam. So I haven't really explored that deeply enough to feel like I can be a guide in that way of faith, in that way of insight. So if my children say that, oh, that's what they're attracted to, you see, the Sufi way or the other way of Islam, then I feel like with full openness, if I dive in, it's a question of few weeks to get the pulse, just get the pulse of how is the way, what is the way of the heart in this religion, and I feel like I could guide from there as well. So really, this is the beauty of the way of the heart, that no real way to God is alien to you. You may not be attracted to all the ways. You don't have to be attracted to all the ways. One way is enough. But you don't have to feel like either that my way is the best way, because every river is leading to the same ocean. And if a river has been tested over thousands and thousands and thousands of years, then it must be pointing to some deep insight. So we must not have any sort of arrogance or specialness about that, and also we must not have any sense of intimidation about it, right? It's like some of you may feel like, oh, Advaita Vedanta, although I come to Ananta, but he's sharing Advaita Vedanta and I start reading Shankara and I just can't understand what he's saying. It's a beautiful way, and it's not as head as we may imagine. Shankara's path is very, very beautiful. It's a beautiful combination of insight and devotion as well. So, because that is the primary river which all of us are swimming in, but all rivers, all ways are welcome. Because our heart, God's presence in our heart is the ocean itself. How to approach it is the river. So fundamental to the way of the heart is the act of faith. Faith is very, very important. And you cannot you cannot swim in any river without it, really. Suppose you say that you are a Hindu. There is no way you can follow Krishna without faith. On rationality, you cannot follow Krishna. And you can look at various phases of his life throughout any phase, actually. Stealing butter as a kid, which you can say, okay, we can put that to innocence. Then growing up, he was advising things which were needed at that point of time. He was guiding from his heart, and those were, in the traditional means of ethics, they could be anti-ethical. I've shared this story with many of you that most of my life growing up, I said I don't want to follow Krishna, but look at what he did. on the battlefield. You see? Every rule of battle he broke. So how can I follow a God like that? But only then you realize that, okay, suppose he had not. Would you want a bunch of evil people ruling India? So what is right and what is wrong? You cannot determine it. You cannot determine it. You have to come to a point where you accept the Lord for being the Lord, and you have to realize that everything else is in service to the Lord. Recognize the godliness in our heart and then follow in spite of all the protestations from the head. So faith is not like a super rationality. Not a super rationality, no? That you can say, okay, now ultimately it makes sense. No, faith is that my sense is not big enough to fathom God. And you realize that although this may seem like a broader topic of faith, you need this faith moment to moment. You need this faith moment to moment. Because without this faith, you question every moment of your life. Why is this? How is this right? This can't be. Why am I friend like this? Why is my master like this? So that is no way to live. While our lip service is, oh, I'm so surrendered to God. But really, so we need a constant anchor in our life, which is undoubtable. And that anchor is always available as God's presence in your heart. So in every culture, so we talked about Krishna, the other day Claudia and we were speaking about Jesus on the cross. He was talking about the story of Abraham. You look at the Sikh religion, their main pointing is that no matter how much you think you cannot find God, no matter how much you sit in silence, you cannot find God, no matter how much love you are experiencing, you cannot find God, no matter how many worldly goods you procure and feed yourselves, you cannot find God. The only way to find God is to follow His command, to follow His will. Hukum Rajaya. So this is what I played in the beginning of Satsang last week. So that is pointing to following God's will. And then, if you look at Islam, Islam itself means to follow God's will. The meaning is to follow God's will, and a Muslim is the one that follows God's will. So all the rivers that are leading to the ocean are clearly showing us the importance of this surrender.
Father, following God's will is the same as having trust in the silence.
Yes. Having trust in the silence and the words. Having trust both in the silence and the guidance itself in the form of specific guidance. So it's very important to trust the silence. That is the first barrier. You see, because we usually turn to God when we are troubled anyway. And when we are troubled, we want instant answer. So many times in the heart, it is just beautiful presence. But if you go with, so what should I do? You may not receive an instant answer. Okay? So, and that can be frustrating because, Father says, keep following the will of God, you will hear God in your heart, or you will hear the Sadguru's presence in your heart. It will guide you perfectly. Follow that. You go in with full expectation, silence. To trust the silence means that remain in the presence of this. Remain in the presence of this. And whether action happens or not, you have done your bit. You see, so while remaining in the presence of this, you may find sometimes some unexpected action came out through you, or sometimes no action came out through you. You see, you cannot burden it with expectation, but you have to remain in the presence. Guidance means you go to the heart and say, Guruji, please, what should I do? Please bless me with your guidance, your voice. And then you may receive. A whisper. You may receive a whisper, or rarely even a command, very strong command, but you have to trust that wholeheartedly while continuing to remain in the present. So to remain in the presence is not an option. Sometimes you receive words and sometimes it is wordless. So that is the switching out from head to heart. Many of you have this doubt that, but I go, but I never hear anything. I go to my heart, but I never hear anything. But this is not true. This is not true. You may not hear it like the shouting head. But if you allow yourself to remain in God's presence, and if words are needed, they will come. Because God is the supreme intelligence. God knows best. Some of you have seen this over the years. Some of you even ask me, what do you do? So because sometimes some of you come with some mala or something and say, okay, bless. So there's some sort of mystery around. So what do I say and what do I do? So I can make it clear. So I just start blessing it with the presence I feel in my heart. Then sometimes it all depends, moment to moment. Sometimes I may start with like Om Namah Shivaya, Jai Shri Ram, or something like that. And then I just leave it open unless there's been a specific ask for something. And if there's been a specific ask, usually I will say, if it is thy will, God or Guruji, please, if it is thy will, bless this child with this request. But more than anything, let thy will be done. That is the thing. If there's no specific thing, then I'll just allow it to unfold. So sometimes it may unfold where I'm saying, bless these children with the truest insight into your holy presence, Father. May your light never leave them. May they be blessed with your love and become lights of their own to share your presence with whoever they may encounter. There's nothing spontaneously, something will come like that. So many times we hold ourselves back. Okay? I feel like this is not some mystical or extraordinary process. It's just a question of trust. I remember that when Radha had to go to Sahaja, they said, we need some songs. So I said, what do you mean we need some songs? So she said, no, songs, bhajans are all copyrighted. We can't use bhajan. I said, how can bhajan be copyrighted? That doesn't sound right. But then I realized they are. Unless they are like really old traditional ones which nobody can copyright. So she said, few other traditional ones, 4, 5, but we need, for the album, we need 5, 6 more bhajans. So I said, okay, we'll make. She's like, what do you mean we'll make? You, like, she didn't say that, but you compose bhajans also? Like that. But over the next, like, week or so, these started sprouting up. It's just coming. Some of you were here. And then I wanted her to also compose. Because I feel like it was there, but she was just stopping herself. So I said, don't judge. Don't fear looking foolish. Allow your heart to speak. And then it came like that. So it's a very natural process. So, with full trust, even to the mind, if it seemed like absolute stupidity, to the world, this is completely stupid, okay? I mean, what I'm saying is just like, oh, go to your heart. It all sound like very airy-fairy business. But it's not. There's a great force, much greater than your head. It's a supreme intelligence in your heart. And the mysteries of the heart are so unfathomable and ever deepening that millions of lifetimes are not enough to really get everything that the heart is trying to show us. So this is the human condition. You have 2 calls which are constantly calling you, constantly in operation. One is the call of the head, which is saying, you have to do this, you are like this, you are this, make sure you win, it's all about you. Ultimately, the voice of fairness, so-called fairness, which means I should win. And all of this righteousness, and not just me first, but me alone. Like many times I've said in the Satsang also, that if nobody is getting it, everyone is fine. If one is getting it, and I'm also like, yeah, very approvingly. Father doesn't know. No. He doesn't know. But if I look approvingly towards you, then I know. Father is finally recognizing me. So, this kind of thing, this it can happen in all spheres of life. Spirituality is mostly as mental as every other sphere of life, right? So the voice which says you, me, what about me, what's in it for me, that one. And then there's the other voice, the call of your heart, which is patient, loving, all-inclusive. Yeah, it is never saying, first you do, then your brothers and sisters will see later. The heart would rather say, if freedom is in limited supply, let my brother have it first. Okay. It's a great question to check between head and heart. If in Ananta's life, he is going to guide only one to freedom, useless teacher, only one. Only one will be guided to freedom. What does your heart say and what does your head say? Your head will say, me. Okay? Or the head sometimes can be very smart also. Like, if I say my brother, then it will happen for me. So that is why I will say my. So none of these tactics work. Just like the tactic of trying to love your ego to death. It doesn't work. Okay? But if you go to your heart, meet yourself. We cannot even say supreme patience because it's so full of fire. It wants, like, the presence wants to include everything in itself in that way. And yet, if there is a question like that, there is a the choice to stand in front of the line or at the end of the line, the heart usually says, wait, it's okay. Usually, okay? You can't predict the heart in any way. I'm just saying, these are the usual beats, but you only have to check moment to moment. You cannot presume. Religions are based on presumptions of the heart. You can take the usual beats and say, okay, now this is how it usually works. But spirituality is to see it moment to moment, to find it moment to moment, and to allow it to surprise you.
I wanted to expose something. Since you started talking today, so there has been like 25 to 30 different things to say to you, continuously coming, and I was not able to follow your words.
Yeah.
And mostly it is like to show off, to grab your attention. So what I wanted to put at your feet is, as you say in your analogy, game of cricket is enough for me.
Yeah.
Even though I don't like, literally I don't like football, cannot watch more than 30-second football. But game of cricket is enough for me. Still I want to grab your attention, still I want to be first rank student in this class. And all these things are enough for me.
Thank you.
I want to dive by this attack of anxiety. Yesterday I went to some shop nearby, some 5 minutes walk, and went to shop for and then as I was inquiring your words, suddenly something revealed, and this anxiety attack was so much heavy that I stopped every inquiry. I distracted myself. I started looking into people, dog, because I just wanted to walk to my home. I did not want to faint on the road and become a big problem for my family. I just wanted to walk because I suddenly lose my strength in legs and arms. So, but this head chattering is enough. I mean, I don't want to look smarter in front of you or in front of. Don't want to have a competition. Sometimes I feel why father is talking to others. He never talks to me like that. To others he will talk with me. He always talks. Don't want all of this. Really enough.
Also, you pointed out something very useful, which is that we hardly ever listen. He said that while I'm listening, saying, what can I say about this? What can I tell father that he'll get impressed or something? Or even if we are not doing that, we are judging. Yes, right. No, wrong. I agree. I don't agree. Nobody's asking for any of that. Nobody values that, and you just it is just your mind trying to participate in this. We're having an intimate conversation. This mind wants to come in and say, to spot it is very important, because most of the world believes that I agree or I don't agree. I feel this. So at least you can say, this is my mind chattering.
In front of the Guru, all these vices are magnified over. Is it so?
Well, I don't know if they're magnified, but I feel like they come into your light. It's like everything is just happening in the dark, quietly. Then suddenly you come to Satsang and all starts to become so visible. Then you feel like, is my mind always like this or only in Satsang? The vibrational support for you to notice this. So when I'm talking about the two boxes, one is the box of thoughts, the other is the box of love. You see, you can distinguish that through the support that's available in Satsang. That is also beautiful, but sometimes we feel like, why is it like this here? I came here for peace. I'm getting even more frustrated. If you have an idea about why you came here, you'll have a very frustrating time. Like many of us often report, no? I first started coming to Satsang to come to the end of suffering. We don't know that actually. We have no idea. But because we cannot leave ourselves without narrative, you have to say, what? Why do you come? If you don't have an answer, you don't want to look stupid. So you say, I come because I was suffering, I want some peace. You don't know that. That is just what your mind is telling you. And if your mind could tell you the truth, you would not need to come to the company of the truth in the form of satsang. You see, the nature of the mind is to oppress you, is to revolt against you. You say, don't think of a banana. What is the mind that ends? Banana, banana. No? So, how is that your friend? You decide, I want to be free from lust. Then your mind is just lust, 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 lust. How is that your friend? It's not your billy, no. It wants to make you its billy. That's it. Not only is it designed to make you seem as if you are limited, it wants to dominate you. It wants to dominate. And therefore life would then be a living hell with no options unless you had another voice. That is the Sadguru presence. Your inner divinity has not left you just at the mercy of this oppressive slave driver. It is calling all of you, and that is what brings you to Satsang in some way. And then the singing clash of the two voices starts. Because the first voice will want to include everything I'm saying as part of its way of life. Okay? So it is probably saying, so what do I have to do? What did I understand today? I have to live a surrendered life. I have to follow whatever my head is saying. My heart is saying, probably, right? But whatever my heart is saying. So it wants to include it so that you can become a more peaceful person. You see? Your work situation improves, your relationships improve. So it wants to do that. But it also says, but don't go too far with this. You can't live as God. You can't live one with God. You came here for peace, remember? That is the deal. That's why it starts to pull us back. Don't go too far. And that is like Judas's song. That is like Judas's song. Gone too far. Gone too far. Listen to a song from Jesus Christ Superstar called Heaven on Their Mind. Heaven on their mind or your mind? Something. Too much heaven on their mind. He's saying the same thing. It was fine. It was small. We were having good time. Why did you have to take it so far? Why are you always talking about God, God, God? Is that getting us all in trouble? So that is what is Judas? Is the mind's portrayal of a spiritual person. Keep it within limits. Be balanced. Little bit. Like that. But first, protect yourself. So all this then talk of surrender and all is out the window. So check for yourself and see how many of you want to make this a part of your life understanding, and how many of you want to give up your life for this. You don't have to expose the answer, not a loyalty test or something. Is satsang so that you can come and chop your head at the altar of truth, or so that you can capture the truth in your head?
Very good question.
You know? Thank you. Answer is what? I am blessing all of you to have a good answer.
This problem of face is coming up again. Not enough face.
Yeah.
Because it's like will, or there is face or there is no face. But my face is too small. I have to increase the light is too little.
Yes. But this is integrity. This is integrity. To recognize that there is something I would not do if God asked me. If I was guided to in my heart, but I would not do. You see, that recognition is very important. So it's very good. Then what to do? Remain in God's presence, and that presence will take you deeper, make your faith stronger.
Like give me second touch and blame me, put the blame on me that I don't have enough space.
Yes, so that is not the game that you have to play at all. You see, because the mind also can use all of this that I'm saying and say, you're just not good enough. You're not worthy enough. Everyone is worthy. All of us are worthy. But to recognize that my will, I still prioritize my will when it comes to these things. You see? And I'm willing to hand over to God these parts of my life. You see? That to put in your light is very important. Because Advaita otherwise can give us the best excuses. What is it? You are the self. All of this is Maya anyway. Whatever is happening is God's will. Yes, but the higher way to meet God's will is in your heart.
It's a little bit, if I would like to trade, I
Yeah.
give you my will if you give me total face.
Yeah. No, you have to give will no condition.
Yes.
So he was saying that day, no? Anup was saying, who was saying? Today, Father, you're sounding like we had this revolutionary freedom fighter called Subhash Chandra Bose. So he was saying, today, Father, you're sounding like तुम मुझे खून दो मैं तुम्हें आज़ादी दूंगा. Which means, did they tell you? It means you give me your blood, I will give you freedom. And I'm not disputing that actually. Sounding a bit like that. But I want much more than blood because I have no use for blood. Not running a blood bank. I want that which you hold even dearer, which is your individual will. Your righteousness. Let's even say righteousness because individual will sometimes can seem confusing. I want everything you think you're right about. Whether you think it's right to give it to me or not. So insight together with faith augment each other, they supplement each other, they provide fuel to each other. It's like Bhagwan's metaphor of the bird is very beautiful. So your bhakti and your jnana will provide flight to you. Have you seen that after coming to Satsang, many of you may be realizing that the insight into Brahman is the easier part of the process? The insight into the Nirguna Brahman, your unchanging reality, is quite effortless and clear, but it is the giving up of individual doership and righteousness. Because this is the trickster, no? It includes everything in mental conceptualization and keeps expanding the framework. I take this example. Many people into spirituality start to say that, oh, I live without a plan. I'm leading a completely spontaneous life. I'm very clear. I'm fully spontaneous. And they don't smell in that the plan. That is the new plan. To be completely spontaneous. So that is not true open and empty. That is not the shunyata. That is not the emptiness. That is not the zero baby. That is the mind's version of freedom. What is the mind's version of freedom? In Hindi we say, जो मेरे मन में आया मैं करूँगा. Okay? Whatever comes to my mind I can do. That is the idea of freedom. I should be free to do whatever I want, and I want means whatever my mind says. So mind wants freedom for the mind. It wants to rule. So that is why for people like my generation, the next generation after that, maybe, sorry, Jyotin, I was pointing at somebody else. So, we have a problem with the word obedience. Like obedience. Like obedience is for losers. Like who wants to be obedient? I don't want to be obedient to God. I want to love God. We're pals. Like, who wants to follow? I want to be like chilling with Him. This is the thing. And it's sweet in a way. But really, to accept obedience in our hearts to God's will is a very important act of faith. That's why words like hukum in the Guru Granth Sahib, I would hate that. Who wants to follow orders? I want to be free. How can freedom mean that I will have a God-dictated life? That doesn't sound like freedom. But allow this contradiction. And if you trust me somewhere, trust me that this is freedom. To have a God-dictated life is the highest freedom you can get. What we take ourselves to be cannot have a God-assisted life. Just like a grain of sand cannot have a moon-assisted life. And all our ploys will not work here. You say, okay, but I am realizing I am the moon, then I can have the moon-assisted life. That voice is the ego's voice. So if words like follow God's will, become obedient, which are not natural in this expression also. So if they're causing some friction, then that's very good. You don't have to agree with it. But somewhere you have to trust me. Somewhere you have to trust me in this. That the grain of sand having delusions of mooniness, saying that then the moon's light is in service to me, this kind of stuff, you see, is premature. Only once we learn to serve fully, only then we can claim a seat at the table with God as like that. This is an antidote to arrogance. Obedience is our antidote to arrogance. The voice which wants to make you into God or share kinship with God is the voice of specialness. Your insight is not being accurately represented by that voice. Are you aware now? Clear. Now, is that awareness special? Does it want to rule something? So, how to avoid this pristine insight from becoming the spiritual ego? One tip, of course, I've shared. It is to say, if you start referring to it that I saw, this is what I saw, not what I am seeing, then know that that is the ego. Even in your own narratives to yourself, this is what I saw. Hi, God is fully fresh. Why do you have to rely on some memory of some experience? Where is it gone now? And that which comes and goes is not real. We started sharing something today about the byproducts of spiritual experiences which can be enjoyed but never become attached to. That's very important. But the simplicity of coming to your presence, coming to your God presence, the simplicity of recognizing that attributeless reality of Nirguna Brahman. For your mind also is like a bunch of goodies. This will help me. This will help me. No, it won't.
It wants to just grab.
Exactly.
Just grab and
That is the tip. The mind is grabby. It's clingy, grabby, like that. So if you're spotting this, very good. So you're noticing the tendencies of the mind. So for a while, the most loving guidance from the heart will seem like it is so strong. I have to give up so much to follow this. I have to surrender. It will seem like that. And like I was saying in the last few satsangs, my job now is to make you uncomfortable. My job now is to make you uncomfortable, to stir up trouble. Yeah? But when I came, I was all shanti, shanti, shanti. After coming to satsang, I have more trouble. What kind of reverse satsang is this? I'm just trying to avoid any arrogance, complacency. Your insights are completely pristine, but what you make out of them can cause a lot of trouble. You cannot mentally reconcile both ends of it. You cannot mentally reconcile the way of insight and the way of surrender. If you try to make a overriding conceptual framework, you can't do it. And what is the way to make you uncomfortable? Is to contradict and contradict and contradict the words that are coming from you. 1 second go left, 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 1 second go right, right, right. That's enough fire for me. What is burning in the process? Suppose you really were in this situation where you came to a master and there were no Google, no nothing. This was the only master in the world. You're stuck because the longing for the truth is too much. So the master is saying, left. And you try going left. He's saying, why are you going left? Go right. And you try going right. He's saying, I told you left. What will burn up in that process?
Faith in the master also.
Huh?
Faith in the master.
All faith in master, everything will burn. But ultimately, if you continue to follow, your ego will go. And this is in every tradition, whether you take Zen koans or you take the Adhyaropa, Apavada and Vedanta, or whichever, or the biblical stories, whatever you take, they are beyond our comprehension. And yet, they are true. I told you all to jump that day. No? Told you all, just jump. Okay? And I felt like I made a very unsuccessful appeal. Only one or two threw a tantrum, or didn't really throw a tantrum but felt frustrated or something. But when I heard the reports from last time broadcast, I felt happy because so many said, we felt so frustrated, we felt so angry, we felt so whatever. Okay? And he's here for the first time, he must be like, why is he trying to create frustration? Really? So, examine frustration for a moment. Okay? If I said to you, look at the pink giraffe walking in front of you and follow it home. You won't get frustrated because you say, kuch bhi, like that. You won't get frustrated. But when I'm saying, jump. You can do it. Don't ask how. Okay? Jump. It frustrates you. Because the two aspects, the two boxes which I told you about, the head and the heart, they come into conflict with each other. Your head will come, 1 second, your head will complain and say, how jump, what jump, where to jump? I've already jumped. I've been jumping only since I came. All this. From the head and the heart knows what is being asked for. It cannot be expressed further in words. It knows what is being asked for. And this whole satsang is about what is being asked for. Everyone knows that. Now these two come into conflict. So, like that is the spiritual frustration. So what will you pick? And this is the same frustration of a Zen koan. One time you didn't want to let me go back to the house. You are not going today, Father, till you tell us how the goose gets out. You wanted the goose to leave the vase so much. So I'm pointing you the way. All that I've been sharing, like I felt these pointers where I said, if to know even one thing was to know too much, what would you know if you knew nothing? Which I felt was like a super explosive pointer, but didn't land at all. But what I'm pointing today is just an expansion of those words. It's an expansion of those words. Yeah.
Last time when you said this instruction, you said it just came like a sudden slap for me. The mind was so, saying this, that. And then you said, okay, jump. If you have faith, you have to jump.
Yeah.
And then when I went back home, every time my mind started playing, it came back to that one thing. You said, jump. And my mind's totally just silent. It just shut up totally. And it was so easy for me to know that, okay, this is a grace of the Master, how he can just take us,
I love your report. I'm fully blessing it. But have you jumped? You don't. That it still has juice. You see, it still has juice. The instruction, the pointer still has juice. I wanted to extract every drop from that. It's very good. It's very good. But sometimes, in the most humble report, you see, also the mind can say, so that I'm done with this because I saw the mind can be so tricky. You can do some relief from. So I don't have to jump anymore. No, you jump. You jump. I'm with you. I realized this thing, but I realized like the doctor was sometimes a job to prescribe the more bitter medicine because that is best for the healing. I don't ever feel like I cannot meet your fire for God as well as the frustration. I cannot. I need both of them, and I am in service to your fire. But sometimes I have to keep providing these instructions as a father. What would I want for my children? I would say, you're all good. All you're here. God's here. But just like my son has given me good training for this. No? So he was clear he wants to only study in America and he'll be very unhappy if he doesn't. No? So then I had to get after him, okay, if you want to study in America, then you have to do SATs, no? You can't do it without that. Like, okay, but then, so that pushing comes. So in the same way, I hear your call in my heart. You want to meet God. You want to find yourself. So sometimes when I give you the homework, you see, you will not necessarily like me in that moment. But it is something that needs to be done. So it can seem, although it can seem a bit hard, it's such a beautiful report, but Ananta is still saying, but have you jumped? It can seem harsh, but that is the homework.
Guruji, mind is at peace now. Like you had asked us to jump, and you have told us the way to go to your heart to find the way, and the heart is not speaking anything. So mind is happy. Oh, there is no ask to jump. I mean, so it's like stuck over there.
That's why your heart is showing up outside and saying jump, jump.
Can I ask something? I'm really curious about this jump thing. What is it? Is it like physical jump or something?
It's
What
just
exactly?
jump.
I didn't get it.
Exactly. I'm not meant to get it, right? And I realize it's the first time we are meeting like this, but since that question seems valid to you, then I cannot also then dial down my answer. I want to give you the full thing I have to offer. So where can you meet that which you cannot get here? Maybe that little bit of aid I can give you in this question. Where is it possible, not just with this question, but with anything in life, when we don't get here, then where can we get? Is that all we have? Is our intellectual capacity, is our mental capacity the extent of our capacity? So if something is not possible for your mind to do, it is impossible for you to do. Is it like that? So, how is it going for you? Give me a quick report, even if it's 2 words.
Good.
When you said, how will you know if your mind doesn't know?
How? Louder? What?
How would you know? How would you do something if your mind didn't know how to do it? Would that not?
Is that the boundary of our capacity?
So I remember from this
As existence.
from this Ramayana, I mean, in that Hanumanji said, no, I mean, when he's asked to make that bridge,
Yeah.
he says, okay, I don't know how to make any bridge or anything. And he says, okay, I just keep
chanting God's name, and the way of how to make it will just happen. So they keep writing them down. And once in Rishikesh, I remember Guruji is saying to us this. He says, if the master told you now go and do, and you also told us when he told you go and bring that dog from there, and you also scared. Yeah. And if he's the master says now you go and do it, then you just go and do it. I don't ask how you're gonna do it.
Guruji, this patience is also a way. Like
What do you mean by patience?
When you ask your heart, it doesn't speak. But you ask again, you just go and ask him. So that's also a way.
It's a beautiful sign of trust. Only one switch I'll give you is to, in the mind, you see, answer has to be yes, no, do this, do that. You see? For the mind, it is the dealer in concepts. You see? So then the intellectual aspect of the mind is the dealer in judgments. Good, bad, great, should do, should not do. You see? So, but those are not the restriction of the heart. So sometimes silence is the best answer. So we are learning how to accept silence as the answer instead of saying it's not answering. It's always answering. But because we are looking as if we are the mind, we may say it is not answering because the mind can only work with concepts. With me? So there's a table which has only placeholders for square pegs, right? Now a round peg has come, which was unfathomable, you see, in the world. Now it has come. Where will it fit? Cannot fit there. Does that mean that the round cannot exist? Can exist. Just because the table doesn't have the capacity for a round peg doesn't mean a round peg cannot be there. So to come to satsang is to take you beyond your mental boundaries, to introduce you to a greater intelligence, which is timeless. Because the truths that you find in the Upanishads, the truths that you find in any of the holy scriptures have not come from a mental intelligence. That is already apparent. They are talking about things in space and things like that which were discovered many thousand years later. So they are already accessing some intuitive aspect of it, right? So is it only available for a select few, 1 in a million, you have to become a sadhu? No. It is universal, intuitive insight, the Sadguru presence, the Holy Spirit, whatever words you want to give it, are universally available. And any idea of not possible for you or it's too rare, I am just new to this, all of this is just mental block, self-limiting beliefs. So that's why I ask you, so that you are aware, through what tool do you know? You don't know it through the mind and you don't know it through perception. That you are the witnessing. You are that which witnesses all of this. You do not know conceptually or perceptually. So already it is there for you. That you exist. That you love. Where do you know that? Where do we know that? So tell me about what is impossible there. I know what is impossible here. Anything which is beyond concept is impossible already. So the human existence then would be very limited. Just a peddler of concepts. And the best you can hope to become is an encyclopedia. Is that what human life is? Yeah. If to gather every single concept then would be the nirvana of the human condition. No? if all that we had was a capacity for concept. Or even if it's a capacity for concepts and capacity to perceive. Suppose these are the two capacities. Then our job should just be collect in the head and go see every part of the world. Go see. Perceive. Is that what life is? Many feel it is like that. But is that what you are finding? Where is love? Where is peace? Where is presence? Where is being? Where is awareness?
It's difficult to ask to everything. Many things are going great. So, but we want to take the courage and ask.
So sometimes we can also have the reverse trust in God. So if I hand this over, He'll definitely burn it. But it's going too well.
Sorry.
It's not just like sometimes we can have a reverse trust, which is that's what in the mind will say, no, don't hand that over because that is going great. No? Hand the things which are not doing well because that is where
it's easy to go. Any of that is that.
To spot that trick is very good. Spot it is very good.
So just wanted to. It's going great, but if it needs to be burnt, then let it go.
With what instrument can you measure the greatness of it?
Phenomenal success.
We don't really know.
Really,
We don't know what is best for us through phenomenal means. So just one final example before you have to go. When almost 20 years ago, I had this big 600 people software company. I thought things were going great. And then when there were problems in that and I had to lose it, then I thought that was the worst thing that could happen. What was it actually? It was the opposite. The opposite. You can't really say. So you can go to your heart with humility and say, I'm still attached to this outcome. I'm still attached to this outcome.
Fearful of suffering.
Fearful.
Because anxiety attack is unbearable.
Nothing in this world will remain unbearable. What if it was a guarantee that whatever you thought was going great would be messed up after coming to Satsang? Would this room clear out? Not, you won't be that impolite, I'm sure, but would it clear out from Wednesday? No, nobody. It's not that it is guaranteed that way, but suppose it was. What I came for I didn't get, plus what I had also is getting messed up. How is that as a deal? It's a good one. They can't even run that easily. At some level, we have to reconcile to that. At some level, we have to reconcile to that, because what is the way of satsang is not just slightly different from the way of the world. It's completely different from the way of the world and the way of most people. So if you just start living like this, it is going to attack, whether you want to attack that or not, it is going to attack the other's way of life. Even without you saying a word. People are not going to like your peace. People are not going to like it that you're not getting as agitated about the same things as they are. They call you stone slash loser or something. Don't you care? Do something. Like that person who came and shouted at Guruji. You're just talking self. That's so selfish. All these kids outside, who's feeding them? You will be attacked like that. Not that they were feeding them. So it's important to accept that you may not live up to other standards of what is true spirituality, true freedom, true service to the world. And because you're still peaceful about it, it is bound to frustrate. You're like a koan for them. Just like the world is burning all around you, but you are just like. Or the other way, nothing could be happening and you're like, no, I have to go to Thiru or something. So what is the option? There's the option that I have applied for 10-11 years, which is like, keep it low key. Just keep it low key. But that is going like starting to go. It's like I was saying, I'm sharing this on family groups. If something came to my heart, I just put it there also. I'm done with being sheepish about this. And the risk is worthwhile. To love full-heartedly, even at the expense of being hated by everyone, is okay. And love is only when God is involved. I spent this whole life and I've got thousands of relatives, UP, big families. And I didn't even knock once. To ask whether anybody is interested in this. I don't feel like that. Just some ideas of maintaining the peace or not wanting to seem like Babaji or something. Just some silliness like that. And I'm sure all of you do the same. You must be sheepish about this. To not rock the boat. So follow your heart, there's no rush, like 10 years, not much more shared from here. It just came in my heart, and then the provocations by Kierkegaard really pushed also.
Father, Guruji often said, don't talk about it.
Yeah.
And it was, and for this one, it was more and more ending up in playing roles. In playing roles in front of friends, in front of family.
Yeah.
And it got a sort of habit.
Yeah. It happened, and that's why I'm openly saying that here also. I was quiet about it for so long, but now my heart is just overflowing. Just coming that way. Follow your heart about it. Like most of the ones that are here, I feel like I know them and their parents. And in India, parents are very important, like Italian parents. But so I can literally visualize each of you talking to your parents, like Ritika talking to her mom about this, which she has been doing a little bit. I can imagine Chinmay talking to her parents very sheepishly. Mama, Papa, actually, you know about God, little. It's such a strange thing. Like spirituality is like in India, most people say wait till you're old and can't do anything else, then make time for God. Here, so many are scared to talk to their parents about God. It's strange thing. It's like that. One said that okay, so he said that my wife would prefer I go to a pub than come to Satsang. Maybe my kids would also prefer me going to a pub than coming. The idea of normalcy keeps us very bound. Be ready, be normal. How do you talk to patients about it? How do you tell them no? How is it? He asks, there's something about you or what?
Yeah, actually, I saw your photo there, and that's I asked question. And then it just randomly happened.
Yeah. Who's this guy?
Around the same time, there were 2-3 patients. I was talking to them. But I was sheepish with the other two. Wasn't giving too much. But with him, it was different.
He was more open, you felt.
Yeah, I felt his.
And usually I don't talk about this to anybody, but that day it just happened. I think it was meant to happen. But that's too personal to you. I mean, if you open that, then you're very vulnerable. So it was just meant to happen.
May I expose something to you?
Yes, yes.
Because it comes up so strongly. Since I followed Guruji and then, yes, my husband died 1 year later. And in that year, I followed Guruji. I was more in peace and more for myself. And he said he couldn't bear how I was going more depressive for him.
Your husband?
Yeah, for him I was depressive,
from his point of view,
From
you
his
were
point
looking.
of view,
Yeah.
you are strange, you are not the woman
Yes,
I married, I loved
yes,
so much and all. And then he suddenly passed away. Now it's coming, it's something in me that I feel guilty that he had to pass so that I could experience or deepen or going my way, coming here, and it comes up. Yes, and I would like to give that to you.
Thank you for sharing that. But one beautiful thing is that God's way is always win-win. God's way. So your husband may not have realized it then, maybe in some way he realizes it now, that to spend 1 year in the presence of one who may not seem as outgoing and happy, but someone who's deepening in their love for God and their being in the presence of God will be taken as a blessing at some point. And many times, especially with close relationships, we create this demeanor. It doesn't say the good things because you don't want to encourage that too much, because the fear of losing someone fully to that. So we may appreciate the peace in our heart, but outwardly, it's especially in marriages and things, it is our nature to criticize it. But I'm sure that he was blessed by it, and you are blessed by that, and also that the world will not understand this, but I was speaking to someone in the Sangha, in Guruji Sangha in Rishikesh, and her fiance had passed just maybe 1 or 2 years back. I said, how are you dealing with that? So she said, it's the best thing that's ever happened to me.
That is what is coming up in me too. But
And I appreciated her honesty about that.
I feel guilty.
No, it's not guilty. It's beautiful to see that, and we have many in the Sangha also who've gone through these in the world terrible life experiences, but have led to such deepening, such strong meeting with God. And it is not that it is selfish. It is not that it is selfish, because in God's way it's win-win. You see, everybody, the presence of God for one moment blesses the whole universe.
My heart says it had to come like that. It was the predestined. It was, yes.
So this is just your heart knows.
Yes,
your
my
heart knows. Your head speculates. You see, your head accuses, it makes you guilty or proud. In fact, what happened one time is that this young boyfriend, girlfriend from America, I don't know if some of you were there, came to Satsang, and they were part of some program of reforming these young kids who had got into like bad habits and crime and things like that, but they were in this program now to reform their lives and things like this. So these two kids, they met over there and started going out together. So I heard about this, I wasn't there. So Guruji called one of them, the boy, and the boy said, I'm so happy, I'm going to get to spend the rest of my life with her, and this is the best gift that life has given me, and things like this. Then when I went there, that day there was an accident. We were in some other place when an accident happened, and in a whitewater rafting accident, the boy passed away. A young boy who was just reporting that he's so happy and things like this. And this girl who was his partner was there, so we went and met her. And Guruji was talking to her, and then, of course, after comforting her and everything, he said, one day you will see the grace even in this. And this kid who was hardly 19, 20, she said, I already do. She said, I already do. It really touched me so deeply to hear that from a young child. So grace is so unfathomable how it comes to our life, and we just can't judge what is good and what is bad. very good. Very good. To release all of this. Because these are the branches of conditioning. These are the branches of conditioning that the mind can use to oppress you over and over, to make you guilty, unworthy, bad. To release it fully is very important. Never feel that you're taking too much time or distracting us. Never feel you're taking too much time or distracting us. Yes. This is your space. Everybody is equally my child here. So. See, the thing is, like, honestly speaking, I know that the mind doesn't know what is good for you. And sometimes the priorities it places before us and the things it says, those are not necessarily the most helpful for your heart. So I've become a little more like, call her, where is she?
I was home one but been wanting to definitely come and
I've become a little less sheepish about this.
I was so glad that she gave me a call as soon as Satsang was over, and I was like, I wanted to come last week or two, but I had a terrible call and I didn't know what it was. Thank you for that.
Frustrated? Is that a report or is that just a general? Yeah, I don't want to give you some of the master keys because then I'll have to find some other ways to fuel the fire. But sometimes I have to say, that if you already can spot that in frustration, what is burning? It is that what you want to be free from. So will you encourage the frustration? The problem is the more you encourage the frustration, the lighter it becomes. You have to resist it for it to get more fuel. But once you know this master key, oh, I want more of this than frustration. Let me try again tomorrow. As I was talking about resistance also. The minute you call it resistance, it's no longer such a strong resistance. If you were saying, but I'm so right about this, I can't stay in satsang, this is something, this is not right, I don't like the way he's become, you see, this kind of story. Then, and we don't spot it as resistance, that is when it is troublesome. If you can see it as resistance and say, I'm resisting, already half the venom is gone. Resistance is true resistance when it seems like righteousness, not resistance.
To spot these blind spots or the tricks of the mind, is meditation a good way to do that?
Like what would you do in meditation?
Just
What kind of
silence,
meditation?
you just be aware. So does that help to?
Yeah. To just, what you are calling meditation is just what I call open and empty. As you open and empty, all this gets released. And some of it, like, don't even get attached to the notion of release, because there's a lot which just vanishes, which you will have no memory that you even had it. That is the power of God present. many of it just goes. It's like a disease you had which you were getting treated for, or you wanted treatment for, it was very painful. But one day you wake up and you don't have it and you have no memory of it also. Or maybe just like a vague recollection. That has
One of the things I have to say in this experience. From two, not so well. Okay, begin on the bed. So I ordered a bed, but not
Order?
bed in for
Bed.
Bombay, and I had to really spend a lot of time find one, and then they guaranteed me it's going to come, and it doesn't come, and you're following up, and I'm getting more and more angry. And I've now reached that point of I can hear just hysteria, you're just shouting.
Yeah, you can hear it.
No, I can hear this. Oh, and I was like, why am I really getting so angry? Like, what's the problem
You need
here?
to be right.
No, I see, I reached the point that, like I said, why? Because I have to be efficient, we're all the whole gamut of whatever. But still I can watch it and I can, it's just,
Let me put this in perspective. How many moments of God's presence are you willing to spend on the bed situation?
I seem to have a choice. I'm just, every time I'm calm.
And okay,
I'm
second
saying,
question then,
cannot be
because that
done,
answer
that's
is
all in the
obvious.
matter.
Second one, can the bed situation not be handled with God's presence?
It can. And it's been showing me again and again. The guests were to arrive, and now arrive 3 days later.
Even if they came and there's no bed, it's okay.
No, one second. Wait, it's in my heart. What you're telling me, I know it.
Your heart knows.
I know that.
Yeah.
But yet it seems to just, I think it's that frustration of some other place. It just seems to be coming out of this way here. I don't know. But it just feels very awful. And the funny thing is, the good part is that the one who I'm shouting at doesn't react. So that's even worse, you know what I'm saying? That's even worse. Because I was like, that one is better off than you. You are shouting. They just don't say anything. Can you imagine how awful that feels like?
Well, I've hardly been in such a situation, but I can try and imagine.
Can you just drop it now? What's the real problem here?
So can you?
I can.
This is the thing. This is the need to show to yourself or to whatever that you're right.
Yeah.
Leaving it would be to what? To accept that it's okay. It's okay doesn't mean that you have to become passive about it. I'm just saying that it is, why can't you be in God's presence, and then if Shiva has to come out, then Shiva has to come out. But not the other way around. Anytime we do the other way around, saying that we are in the head, but our excuses I was in the heart and Shiva came out. That you can be true only to yourself about that.
No, I don't. That's my excuse. Yeah. But I can't see the reason.
Because did you really give an opportunity for like Saraswati or Lakshmi to come out? Only Shiva had to come.
I'm not even listening anymore. This
With God, then any aspect of God can come out.
Yeah.
Or no aspect. But when we sometimes preempt and say, no, I'm going to be in God, but only Shiva has to come.
No, I never said any such thing.
These are all the,
I'm
taking all the various permutations the mind can use to make excuses for not being in God's presence. And the smallest situation is equal to the biggest situation. There are no levels in this really. It can be like a bed situation or a so-called life and death situation.
Yes. Better husband.
Yeah, better. Sorry, but yeah.
Yes.
So now what to do with it? The best antidote for anything is God. It is that Ayurveda tablet that cures all ills or finishes you off. Either way.
When you're talking about God's presence, I realize that somehow I make this measurement that I should be able to say this, or at least myself, if not to others.
Yeah.
What does it mean? And I realize that that's not.
Yes.
That's not only it's not possible.
It's not possible. Yes.
But you can't do
It's
that.
just like love. It's like
Yeah,
love. You can say love, like you can say God,
Yeah.
but to really, what is it? Can I
You
really
can't
come?
put in expression like
Correct.
which is not necessary. Even love for that matter.
Exactly.
Usually I don't say even to my, because I don't really understand in the sense of I can't make what does it mean,
Yeah.
but we all know
Exactly. Same for God.
Same for us. So the problem I was creating for myself is that trying to
Correct.
say
Yes.
You put it to mind, give it to mind and say,
That's why don't try to squeeze it into your head.
Right.
You can feel that till I'm able to conceptualize it, I am not meeting it fully, and that is just not true. It's just not true. In fact, the other way around. The minute you have notions of it, you start relying more on that than the true meaning of it. The Pandit syndrome will become more that in terms of quoting scripture and quoting this and that rather than freshly meeting.
Other outs have huge problems in obedience.
Yes, the
I don't
term,
think I
this
have any
the
problem
term.
in obedience. I mean, I even if the pranayam teacher every time I have to in my head do the other one. I don't know what it is. I really have a problem of
We all
following
do.
what somebody's saying.
We all do, and that is the ego. That is just the ego.
Yeah, but it's disguised in the form of I have to be creative. I'm just exposing it. That's the way it is. It's like, there's no need to keep this thing. You have a head, think about it yourself. You know what I'm saying? Creativity was not just copying something and you had to kind of do it from your own imagination.
Yeah. And like I realized the conditioning and all of that, in many ways it is seen like a positive conditioning to have to try and be creative, to be
Yeah.
original. But in satsang I've seen it cause so much trouble. Over the years I've seen it cause so much trouble because many of, especially the youngsters, many times they just don't listen. They're just like, okay, father's saying this. What do I think? Okay, now for me, this works better. So then what I am ABC becomes the XYZ, and what they have got from satsang could be very different. So that's why these days I've just been saying follow, just follow. Because what you're taking to be understanding is actually a hodgepodge. It's actually a corruption of what is being shared. What's wrong in this following? Somebody's already cooked, no. Unless you find the chef unworthy.
Maybe you
already
don't mind
cooked.
following, but the following feels like what you just said, that unless I get it conceptually.
Hmm.
But if I don't value what the other one is saying, or it's not good enough, there's already a judgment made, then it's like just either you just forget about it, or you got to prove you're better or right,
Right now-
or original or whatever.
Right now, follow me.
I'm for you. So this disobedience story is very
just two things you have to be obedient to, the outer form of the master and the inner voice of your heart.
Two things what?
You have to be obedient to two things. Okay? One is provisional, second is permanent. So provisionally you have to follow this outer voice like as obediently as possible, and inwardly your heart. These two. The first is provisional till the provisional one tells you it's provisional.
So to be obedient to God, because I have a problem with the same, means to be just obedient to my heart.
Yes, to be open to your heart, to be in the presence of your beingness, or to be in the intuitive insight, and to follow the guidance unwaveringly. If there is guidance which is palpable, that's obedience.
But to catch the palpable guidance, I don't know.
It'll happen. It'll happen. As you stay more and more in this, it'll be very natural. It'll become more natural than taking your mind's advice. Okay, let me drill down on this because I'm sensing a lot of confusion about this. So, as you are in the heart, as you are in the heart, everybody knows in the heart, when what you are is apparent to you. That is to be in the heart. As you are in the heart, some actions will unfold naturally with the sharing of satsang. So right now I'm being fully obedient to my heart because it's just heart to mouth. So this is obedience, good enough. There is another form of guidance which may come, which may say, like Guruji had that, just quit. Something he just felt inwardly to just quit the job. Just follow. And while it seems like it is not clear that what is the guidance, but you're like, did it say just quit or just do it? So you can go back and say, okay, sorry, Father, what is it? What do you say? No, you can be completely conversational with it. With the presence in your heart, you can be completely conversational. So you don't have to say Father like Father Ananta or something. I'm saying Father because that's how I look at it. So whichever way you like to address the holy presence in your heart, you can be very, very, very open. But don't try to just be like very buddy types, because although it's very sweet to be buddy types, in the buddy, a lot of time the obedience goes for a toss. He's like, oh, he's my pal. I'll do it next year. I just feel like I'm in so much awe of God. I don't find it to be like naturally to be very like pally. I just feel like I was sharing the other day, you also, that I have the honor to be able to utter the word God. That itself seemed like such a privilege to me. I can't imagine the magnificence of God is so beyond any human conceptualization possible. The mysteries of my heart are so deep. The more I dig, the sweeter and deeper and more magnificent it gets. I don't know whether I've just started to scratch the surface. It does feel like that actually. So that's why my advice is to not put it in a mold which is too constrictive. We can in our attempt to relate, if you put God in a mold which is too limiting, then we may be falling for a mind trick, which is saying, "Oh, this is good." So allow it to be, like, allow one toenail of God that you can hold on to, grasp, and allow the rest to be unfathomable, because even that toenail is actually not graspable, but we need a rope, we need something. It's a very, so the mind, God is a complete mystery. Anyway. So sometimes in our attempt to make a relationship, which is what I'm advising we do, we may make it very constrictive in terms of our mold, our framework of it. It's like you're trying to get into a marriage with an ocean. So you can try to grasp a wave and hope that that is connecting you deeply in your heart for the relationship to be fruitful. But if you put the ocean too much in a human mold, then I feel like you'll not enjoy the depth of the possibility of this relationship. For the younger ones, if it helps you to start with by saying, to go to God and say, "Yo, what's up, bro? How's it going?" It's okay, maybe as a start. But don't make it a very strong mold.
I've noticed there's a part of me that craves silence, but there's another part of me that resists it.
Yes.
Like, why is there such a...
This is it. This is the human condition. The head abhors silence. The head abhors it. It's just like, it feels like it's losing all its power when you're silent. So, when your heart... and you can clarify for me if the silence of the heart is not just the absence of words. The silence of the heart is not just an absence of words. It is the presence of being. That is the inner silence, which is really attractive. And sometimes the outer silence can feel like an aid to that, which is fine, which is also fine. The real silence is the absence of egoic belief. In the absence of egoic belief, the presence of being is palpable. And something is really, it is that very silence which is calling you. And that's why you come to Satsang. That very silence which calls us. So don't have to worry about solving it, at the level of the noisy one. Go to the silent voice, stay with that. Nothing can actually shake you out of that. Like, the whole world can start erupting and things like that. But if you really want that, nothing can shake you out of that. But if it gives you some guidance in terms of how to amplify that in your life, you can also follow that. All these moments of friction between head and heart actually enable us to look deeper as well. So in that way we can be grateful.
Guruji, so you just mentioned, Akash, that during the time when you have that resistance to go inside, that's the time we should really inquire more. You'll be able to...
Yes, if we can. But many times when these moments are on, we are just like too caught up in them to like go to our heart or inquire. All that seems out of like some other planet only. It doesn't seem like this thing. So don't worry about those moments. You see, what I'm suggesting is that the minute you start to notice that you're getting caught up in your mind, the instant you start to notice that, your mind will provide you now, because you're spiritual, the mind will provide you notions of, oh, see, you were so caught up in your mind, that's not the way to do it, you see, you're not going to get it, you're wasting time, you see, all of this stuff. Instead of doing all of that, so the minute there's some space, right, don't go for all these thoughts, that moment you drop into your heart. In those full-on fiery moments, the minute you get some relief, see, it's like you stepped out of the house thinking the tornado is over, but actually the tornado is still on. You see? So whether you're stuck in the thing, then you're stuck in the thing. Yeah? So with the minute it settles for a moment, just rush back home. Don't try to evaluate the tornado from within the tornado, make judgments about it. Come back to your safe space. And all of this, what I'm saying, is the inward, okay? Inward process. I'm not advocating running from any situation in life, unless that is what your inner guide is proposing, or that is how it is playing out in the presence of God in your heart. Then naturally, if it is playing like that, I'm just providing the inner metaphors for your inner condition. Sometimes the instant you retreat into your heart is when outwardly you may become a lion. Like you don't know. Or sometimes you retreat into your heart and outwardly you may become a sheep. What is not clear? Obedience is clear. So, most situations, for most of you, just in your open and empty, how it is playing out is good enough obedience. You see, but if guidance is palpable, then follow. And if you don't follow, then again no guilt. No, I didn't follow, nothing. Just return again to your heart. You see? Because the heart is not really keeping score. Contrary to what we may have imagined it to be. There's no spreadsheet there saying, rehearse, 5 follow, 3 didn't follow, therefore, middling. It's not like that. The instant you're back to the presence, all past, future, everything is wiped out. It's wiped clean. The whole universe is wiped clean. So it is not about trying to resolve some history or try to become better for the future. It's just moment to moment. It's like you're walking on airport road to suddenly now you're swimming in a river. Inwardly. The change is inwardly.
But a few things happens nowadays, like I'm literally shouting to someone.
He's
over the
shouting.
phone. Yes.
Yeah.
Then suddenly I'm thinking
Too much time with Jyoti now.
not actually. Then I'm suddenly thinking like I'm not angry at all. The shouting is happening, all this happening.
Yeah, if that is with integrity, it's fine.
It's a little funny when it happens actually.
If you are making that report with full integrity, which is that you're just fully open and empty with the heart, but your outer expression seems to be getting. Like we can't predict, like I feel like this expression is different from 2-3 weeks back. So I can't predict these things also. That's fine. And
And it passes.
you said there were 2-3 things happening.
Well, it happened multiple times.
Acha, the same thing
Yes.
happening. Who are you shouting at? Family?
No one was bank guys. And
Bank.
Not jumping on the bed, kind of. Bed, no bed.
It's like peaceful. Then somebody tries to sell you a credit card or something. It's just like, this is my chance. Okay. And they are shouting back.
No. Well, they are trained to listen to that language, I think. All these people who we shout at, they are really trained to
They
listen
trained
to that.
to,
So,
They probably just put it on mute.
yeah, they will
This
go.
is-
Or shout to the other guy, see, who's louder. They have no problem.
It must be part of the training. That's why they also tell you that the call is going to be recorded for quality. It's not for their quality, it's for your quality. Quality assurance reason.
That's such a training in our
Ask them whose quality assurance is it for? That's just a subtle way of telling you that just watch it. Don't overdo it. No, that message then. You move closer, you said. No? Did you
No,
say you
I'm
move
quite
closer?
far.
Further?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I have to get an auto, otherwise I don't get autos if I leave late. Yeah.
Always. We'll come to it.
There's something bothering me, Ananta-ji. So, I've put a kind of like a pause in my life. There's nothing much happening, you know. Like, I mean, I was into the corporate, I was in, like working and stuff. But now I can't relate to anything outside. I don't know what I'm doing in life sometimes. Like when my parents and everyone, they question what's happening, what am I really doing? Is it?
No, it's very good. It's good. Unless you feel drawn and clear in your heart that you want to jump back into that whole thing, don't. This is.
I don't want to.
Because it gives you like the few months I've had after meeting Guruji. Thankfully, I had a few months like this where everything was on pause externally, which was very good.
But am I in the right direction? I don't know. Sometimes I get confused.
Yes, and the one moment of turning to God makes your whole life in the right direction. But you have to keep doing it moment to moment.
There are so many moments that I'm not. That's what.
Yes, that's what. But the reassurance I'm giving you is that just now, fresh God. There is no past left, and you can check with your own experience. Okay? Now, meet God. Tell me if there's a past. Think of it.
Am I wasting my life on something?
What would be the best use? Like, what would be a not wasted life? Collected $1 million in the bank?
No.
Yeah? What would be an unwasted life?
I want to go this way.
But
I want to be in the right direction. I don't know if I am.
you're here. Unless you're trying to tell me something.
Happy I found you, Ananta-ji. It's good.
This is the beauty of this. That once you find yourself in the right spot, then how is it possible to not be grateful for everything that got us to that point?
But I want to be guided, Ananta-ji. I want to be guided.
Well, what I've told you today, and we have recordings, I feel like it's a very, very straightforward guidance. Yeah, actually. I have to go into. Oh my God, thank you for everything. Might have in regards to the.
I just wanted to say one thing. Since I'm going home, one part of me is also very happy to be with my folks. But another part of me is like, how parents are like, they irritate you career-wise. That's just telling you that. So that is also they're forcing you.
Just carry some invisible weight when they're saying good stuff.
For a very long time, they've been forcing me.
Okay, force. You have to. This is the beauty. Parents, they are actually helpless. No child realizes this. I wish I had realized this before I became a parent. When I became a parent, I realized that in front of my kids, I'm actually powerless. Completely. So I may make eyes, I can't actually do anything. So all parents are in that boat. So don't take it to.
When they were here also, they were like.
They come with good intentions. They want the best for us. But really, more than anything, every parent wants their child to be happy.
Like Jyotika and I were just talking last about this. And we are away from parents, it's nice. But once you go there, you feel the condition, it agitates.
I can't live in the day next door. If I have to live with my parents for a week, it's too tough. I will just keep coming back home. She's not been the same, she's still recovering. As you open and don't feel like, you don't have to, I don't feel like that's your expression anyway, but you don't have to convince them that you are right or say that they are wrong. Just say that you appreciate where they're coming from, their intentions. Of course, all parents have the best intentions. But if you feel like they're open to you sharing something, like you have your own way of life and things like that, you can share it. They're not.
I keep quiet.
Consistent. Akash got lost somewhere. Contemplating. We cannot resolve any of the true questions through the head. No? We can't compute ourselves to the right answer. So contemplations are best done in the heart. Yes? So in Satsang, when you say contemplation, or contemplate this, or this is a worthy contemplation, bring it to your intuitive insight. The head is not able to help us with these kind of things.
But there are still these tendencies and these patterns, right? But the more you become aware of it, it becomes more clearer and clearer. You try to figure it out, like how do I untangle this?
You cannot untangle it by tangling it more. You see? So if the notion, suppose you believed in a notion called manonasha. Manonasha is the dissolution of the mind to come to the true, to rest in the true self. Some may believe that you need to come to manonasha. But many of them who heard about manonasha then keep thinking about manonasha, saying when will it happen? Why is it not happening yet? You see, that kind of stuff. But that is counter. That is more mana. It is not nasha. So to you have to detangle or untangle this by stepping away from it, not by trying to make it all straight, you see, clear up all the knots, not like that. It is meant to be naughty in both ways. It is meant to tempt you and say, come, we'll solve it here. How to fix the mind? What are the things that bother you? Okay, 1, 2, okay, now what you do like that. You see, then you're just like with Lego blocks, you're placing them in different places, feeling that you are now that new formation is better. You see? But I used to say this often, that today's conclusions are tomorrow's confusions. So if you making like a fresh new approach, now you've determined in your head, that's also going to bother you tomorrow. The only way out of it is to transcend it. That's it. Do you feel like there is another place to go? In the sense, like one is the head region. Do you feel like there's a spiritual head and a worldly head, and you have to juggle between the two?
I feel the concepts of good and bad are still like very strong. Like I feel you can still be a good human being, but at the same time you can transcend.
So what is the way to? So do you feel like the best guidance towards becoming the best human being, let's say, would come from where?
From the heart, like not.
Exactly. Because the world has been working on this problem for centuries, right? And we keep switching between categorical imperative, utilitarianism, this, that. Nobody can decide what is the best way to be. Then we keep jumping from religious understanding to ethical understanding to ideas of justice and all of that. Okay? But it cannot be done that way. It has to be lived moment to moment, following the God's light, heart's presence. Because there is no templatization possible. And I feel that as humanity, we should figure that out by now, that it can't be figured out. Some of these things we should just be, and there are philosophers actually, Wittgenstein, there are many who have actually said that some things are beyond the realm of human reason, and they can be met only at a deeper intelligence. So anyone who truly looks at this, I feel like drops into the heart to find the answer. You find the thermocol nature of mental solution. It's so lifeless and just like so selfish and tactical. Once you start dipping into the river of your heart, then just this dry conceptual existence you won't enjoy so much.
But the stuff out there is so entertaining, bro.
This is the other trick. Like Nitin. No? Nitin mind is like a without ticket stand-up comedian. So it used to pull him so much with this, like every time I would talk to him, it would make a funny joke. And like, so then what? Then he would say, what the mind is saying. So we looked at it a few times, and now he's over that comedian in his head. But the mind can wear any costume to keep your attention and belief. Some get very involved in wordplay. People are just like, this, wow. Then a few times I also laugh, and then afterwards, this is a pattern with you. This is another, can you see? Like either it becomes like very funny, or it starts making some very like interesting rhyming words. It can just create metaphors. Because it hears metaphors in satsang, they feel like, oh, that's the way. So you can do all of this, all these tactics. Now not so much comedy, no?
Still there, but I see
You don't value it so much.
Avoid some shame. Confused.
It's a way, once or twice, of course, you enjoy it, but then you notice the deviousness of the attempt of the head, just like pull you. I'm learning all kind of tricks to pull you out of your mind. So my daughter came, no, that day some of you saw. She was just crying because one friend of hers was very mean to her. Thankfully it was that the way she came, I was a bit concerned actually. But she was very mean to her. So she was not listening only. And I was saying, see, but this is this thing I was trying to tell her. So I said to her, don't think of banana and the mind will show you a banana. She's like, no, it's not showing me banana. No, it's really not. I said, okay. It's just like that. You know what I did? They had gifted me this very nice box of some very fragrant soap. No? You give me? So I opened that soap box and made her smell it. I said, smell this. So she smelled it, and for a minute she went out of her head for a moment, and then also she felt better. So that's why all satsang places they have so many flowers. Just bring you out of your head into perception. Pure perception is not troublesome. So,
Buddhism, they have a tongue.
yeah.
That sound is awesome, the way they do it. You just get lost in that sound.
It's a way to follow. Also there's a prayer. We have one of the
Singing bowl.
prayer bowls, a singing bowl. Yeah. She kept asking me, why did you make me smell the soap? I didn't tell her. What time?
Guruji, this mind that is so scared of like small things, like when I take the video, take the YouTube to watch your audio video, that itself it is so scared to like allow me to watch it. These small things.
So you want to watch the satsang, but the mind resists too much.
Yes.
What does it say?
It's just scared. It doesn't want me to pick up that. It does do like all those small things.
Okay, so something is working somewhere, no? The mind is getting so scared. As long as you keep showing up, you're okay. The mind never wants to leave its dominance. It would love a spirituality where it can give you the jnana. You have understood. Anytime it plays like that, no? It takes the words of satsang and just repeats them to you. So it wants to keep that, keep conceptual knowledge so that the box of thoughts becomes the ruler of this life. So it's on a mission to gather as much as it can capture, so that it can keep that dominance. But with the insights you're having, with the fire in your heart, you'll be fine. Here we're not sharing any like long-term spirituality. I'm not saying, okay, now this is step 1, you keep going like this, in 10 years you will come to the darshan of Brahman, then after that then you become a sadhu or something. Nothing. Whatever I have is an offer to all of you, first satsang or 10,000 satsang, same. Is the expression may keep changing. But are you finding it very different today? Same only? इतना मेहनत करके चेंज किया मैंने. Don't worry.
No, father, I'm not actually. That's what I was like wanting to say also, that like every time I meet you in person and otherwise doesn't change, father. Like I guess that's what I want to say. And yeah, I think.
That's good. Yes. Just keep following your heart.
But the one question for you, like, so it's been like I would say a practice, but feels like very natural to get back to heart. Like, how do I get back? In the sense that, like, anything happens and you feel uneasy, and then there's an inquiry, like, who's feeling this, or who's it happening to, and then you automatically, like, there's no answer obviously, but it automatically goes back to being herself. And so there are a lot of instances that it happens and all that. But the question is like, is it okay to make this as practice, or is it happening naturally? So maybe my mind is making it like.
See, mostly what will happen for most of you is that you'll recognize that you're in the head, you'll naturally drop in the heart. No? Now, there will be times where it will seem very compelling, the topic, the decision, the whatever nonsense it is proposing. It will seem like, no, you have to be. Now, for that, you may need some sort of a tool. Now, the tool could be as simple as my pointing of open and empty. So just become open and empty. The tool could be an inquiry, who am I? The tool could be a mantra, Ram, Ram, Ram. The tool could be anything. It could be any pointer in satsang, whatever gets you. It could be bowing down in surrender. It could be. So all those, the content of the tool is not important. It is just that you felt like you needed an aid to come in the heart. Where again I'm saying 99% of the time you won't even need an aid. You just notice it. You noticed it. So then it was in the process of hypnotizing. But you caught it, no? In the process, gone, no? But sometimes you feel like you've been hypnotized. It's like, what am I doing with my life? Am I wasting it? Where is the money? Where is the security? Like that kind of hypnosis. No? Then you get stuck in that. So then, when you're fully stuck, nothing you can do. You're just like, where is my security? What's going to happen? Something. But then there comes a time, because you've been in satsang or because your heart is calling you, you just notice it and say, that's head. Start to notice the head stuff. See? But you still feel like it's too strong. And then you can, but who am I? Whose security is this? Like that. So that way it's very fine. It's completely fine. The thing is that the balance a teacher has to talk is not to over systemize it while making it like approachable for all of you. Because if I over systemize it, it will become a system, which will become conceptual. But if I don't define a little bit, then you feel like, but what? And then for the second one, you need like to really jump. Do you all feel like you have the tools now? You have the quote-unquote understanding now to spend a life in your heart? The way you will prevent the head from posing as if it is the heart is for you to allow the mystery. Allow the mystery. The job is not to bring everything to the level of the fathomable. The job is to dive into the mystery and swim in this beautiful river without knowing where it ends, where it starts, where you're going. Otherwise, your spiritual head will pose as if it is the heart.
Once again, Guruji,
Yeah. So what happens is that as I'm sharing, the mind will capture all these concepts, and what I call the spiritual compartment of your head will be full of then satsang concept. You see? So then it will pose as if it is the heart, because it will say the words of satsang. But you will be able to smell it, you'll be able to smell it. It doesn't have the fragrance of my master. It just has like the words. But many times it can trick you because the words seem so like exact, like satsang. So you will fall for it when you are craving for an understanding of spirituality rather than allowing the mystery that spirituality really is. Like God is a mystery, right? Cannot be fathomed. I said you can try and hang on to the toenail so that you have a connection with God, but you cannot expect to like have a full embrace. You can only take a dip in the unfathomable mystery that is God. So that anytime you feel like now you're cracking it up to more or less clear, like that, then notice that is the sign of spiritual ego. That is a sign of like a conceptual understanding being made out of God. It must make you like full of wonder every day. What is this? Like what is being said to you? Can you, if you really hear it fresh. First, you are told that you are not a noun, you are more like a verb. You're not a thing, you're more like a witnessing. And you're saying that even that witnessing actually is not a doing. See? So actually it doesn't have the quality of even a doingness about it. See? So what you're being told, what are you being told? What are you? Where are you? See? So don't ever allow the words like awareness, consciousness, all of these things to become like closed. Because those are just pointers. Your mystery, your reality is unfathomable to your mind. But in your heart you meet it. But in the heart the attempt is not to grasp. See? It's to just be fragrant in the light of that, in the presence of that. So it truly teaches us a new way, because nothing else in life we've approached in this open way. You see, relationships we've grasped. You see, money we've grasped. Body is just like, what is something like make it like healthy, and even meaning and all of these things in the world we try to grasp. Here, your grasping is met with frustration. That's what the jump frustration, all this frustration is. You're grasping, not met with anything that you can tangibly hold on to and say, yes, like that. So, when you learn to accept this way of life, which is not a needy, grasping, wanting way of life, too, just like, it becomes like the flower's way. Like, what is the flower's way? It is fragrant in its natural being. It is not trying to call the bee, come. Unless you are a Venus flytrap or something. It's not trying to grasp. So this is the way of the heart. You just become naturally fragrant in the presence of your being. And you're not trying to understand, or you're not figured God out. You've not become like enlightened or free, and who wants all of that stuff? It's like irrelevant to the mystery that is God. This is meaningless. You don't ever hanker after like all this stuff, these labels, and they don't mean anything. And don't get into any debates about, but is your master enlightened or is this one enlightened? Who's more enlightened? Be a fragrant flower. And even the fragrance is not your fault. It's just like, you just are. And the fragrance is natural to you. Any box you put yourself into will become problematic. It will become the cause of suffering. As I was saying, today's conclusions are tomorrow's confusion. So we keep playing confusion. There's no end to that. The unclenched life. Unclenched. Not squinting. No head squinting. It's really like that. In your head. Independent of the situation in life, circumstances, events, all of these actually are just terms for bundles of perception. We make meaning out of these bundles of perception, sensations. So this is what's happening, this is what's happening. But independent of all of that, truly the question to ask is, towards whom have I turned? Towards whom am I turning? And that is the only determinant of heaven and hell. Because in front of your senses could be a blob. You see, in fact, it is a blob of indecipherable light and sound. And if you turn towards the mind for resolution about what that is and what that means for us, then that is hell, instant hell. But if you turn towards God, if you turn towards the Sadguru presence, that is the only heaven there is. So never in the content of the experience itself. It doesn't matter. The whole world could become like tomato soup or something. It doesn't matter. It really is not relevant. But really we are blessed to have found this, the flow of the river in our heart. Where instantly we are beyond time, beyond space, beyond body, beyond birth and death. It's no small discovery. It is not a trivial discovery. It is the end of life as we know it, and the rebirth into a fresh way of life. all smell the stillness of the old wheel. We all smell the stillness of the old wheel. But somewhere it seems familiar and therefore comfortable. It seems like a comfort zone we can comfortably inhabit. But I've been calling that a comfortable hell. And I don't wish that for anybody, forget my children. So, anytime you smell that stillness, just change tracks. Don't make excuses for it, don't make excuses for anything at all, because the mind will provide you enough of those. Yes, snap. Turn to God instantly. Turn to yourself instantly. Turn into yourself instantly. From that presumed shape that you think you have, become shapeless instantly. Is there a greater blessing that we can receive in our life than to receive this grace? To be able to swim in God. Is worth 1,000,000 lifetimes.